What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a special edition of Blazers Uprise Live right here on the main channel, because it is a monumental time to be a Portland Trail Blazers fan, as Damian Lillard trade seems closer by the minute, by the hour, Eric. There is a solid chance that a Dame trade is right around the corner, and we're going to discuss why. We're going to discuss the latest news, the latest reports from a various amount of different reporters, as well as we'll get Eric's intel and all that. And we're just going to sit back. We're going to talk with you guys for a couple of hours. If you don't know what Blazers Uprise Live is, it's the show that we normally do on our second channel. We normally do it Mondays and Thursdays around this time, but with everything that's been talked about in the past 12 to 24 hours, I figured now was a good time to dust off the main channel and just throw the stream up on the main channel, because we have a ton to talk about. DeAndre Ayton's name has been floated out as a rumored possibility to the Portland Trail Blazers. We'll give you guys kind of a breakdown as to a package, what that would look like involving DeAndre Ayton into a Dame trade, and I'm looking forward to the stream. It's been a stressful past day for myself, Eric. How are you doing, though?
Yeah, crazy day for me. I was at work when a lot of this stuff started to happen, to where it seemed like things were gaining traction. And then, I had kids soccer, and then got some very interesting news while at kids soccer, but I still had my rec game to go to directly after that. Then my wife's working tonight, so I had to get the kids to bed, and I'm trying to pay attention to what I need to pay attention to, but I'm also completely distracted by these texts I'm getting and stuff. So it's been a pretty crazy night, but yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Dude, I mean, I still have the bum ankle, so I can't play basketball right now. I was watching the Niners game and couldn't even focus on it with all of this going on. It got to the point where I was starting to make thumbnails. Tried to call Krish to make me a thumbnail because I didn't know how fast I was going to need it in case a trade happened tonight. Still do not have a trade yet. But man, it's just stressful past 12, 24 hours. And I'm just ready for this thing to be over. Going into today, I was thinking about tonight's stream, and I am so just over this entire situation. I am over the toxicity between Blazers fans and Heat fans, Blazers fans and other Blazers fans. I am over the one side versus the other side. You know, we have definitely taken up sides in this situation, but that's just based off what we've heard. That affects our opinions. We are definitely opinionated on this, and there's people that see it completely differently, which is absolutely fine. We will reiterate that once again. I'm just over the arguing. I'm over the toxicity, man. At this point, I want to move on and be excited for the season that's just around the corner. Training camp starts in less than 2 weeks. We're going to have media day in less than 2 weeks. I want to move on and start actually being able to focus on this young core that the Blazers have built. What to look for in the season, some preseason content. That's all I want at this point, because I am done stressing about the Damian Lillard situation. I just want that final, Twitter notification that I have to pay attention to, where it's actually a Dame trade. And then we can, of course, discuss what it means for the future, and then move on. And focus on this team and focus on this young core. That's what I want right now, because, man, I'm just at the point of exhaustion right now.
Welcome to me the week after the draft, when I was just saying, can we just get over with right now?
Yeah.
I wanted
you were saying to rip off the Band-Aid.
Yes.
Yeah, that was you. Rip off the Band-Aid right now, right after the draft.
I mean, the draft was that the 21st? Was it?
That's 22nd of June.
22nd? Yeah, so in a couple hours, it'll be exactly 3 months ago that I've been saying. So yeah, I'm ready for this whole saga to be over.
Yeah, chat, how are you feeling? We'll of course get into details, but answer the chat poll because it is relevant to what we're going to chat about. I've had it up since I made this stream. I scheduled this stream ahead of time. And also leave a like on the stream. It's the easiest way to show some support. It's the easiest way to help us out. Let's get this stream to at least 100 likes shortly here. Thank you all for tuning in, making us a part of your Thursday night. Eric, let's just get into the details. So, this all started off with a Twitter account, okay? A Twitter account that I had speculated as to how legitimate it was. If you guys are on Twitter, you guys probably know what I'm talking about. The Droppin' Dimes 20 account strikes again, and people swear by this Twitter account because they've apparently, I haven't paid enough attention to this specific Twitter account, but apparently they've broken stuff before anyone. They've had details on stuff that only an insider could know. So a couple days ago, there was a tweet from them discussing Ayton and Dame. Ayton and Dame. I didn't put any stock into it because I'm not going to put much stock into just a random Twitter account without an avatar. But then, in the past 24 hours, John, I know him as Gambo. Do you know his full name, Eric?
Yeah, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So.
I don't know how to pronounce it either, and I don't want to butcher it, so I'm just going to call him Gambo. He's a very reputable reporter in the Phoenix Suns scene, and he went on the record saying that he expected a Dame trade in 24 hours. Okay, and that was earlier this morning, if I recall correctly. In 24 hours. There's also been a ton of smoke regarding the Blazers having interest in DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns potentially being willing to move off DeAndre Ayton for Jusuf Nurkic and another asset. Now, we'll get into why Phoenix might do that. We'll get into if it makes sense for them. The financials do come into play there for Phoenix, that it is a move that would be partially financially motivated. And Ayton has been a guy who Portland off and on has been tied to in the past couple of years. And Ayton is the type of guy that the Blazers front office could sell to this fan base if they were to trade Damian Lillard to the Miami Heat. So
already seen it. All these pieces of the puzzle regarding a potential deal like this feel like they're coming together. Eric, I'll kind of like let you take over here. That's basically the quick summary of the situation. Is there's been a ton of smoke. There's been like Dame's liking tweets that say "we'll love you forever" and stuff like that. So it feels like something has happened if you just pay attention to his Twitter account. His cousin Brookfield Deuce says he can't wait to start talking about this. I thought that tweet was interesting. So there's just a lot on Twitter from every direction. It's a little bit overwhelming, but there's so much smoke, it feels like there's a fire here. What's your read on this entire situation? Yeah, I think it's... I mean, you could have possibly thought it was just all BS until Dame starts liking all these tweets and is seemingly, a little bit in his feelings right now. And it's going to be an emotional time for us fans and for Dame and for everyone involved when it actually happens. And so, I don't know, it just feels like he believes that it's close to happening and was on Twitter just kind of reminiscing or, liking some tweets that would that he was feeling. There's nothing wrong with that. Not a bad thing. But yeah, it definitely feels like the Ayton part of this is going to be the final piece of the puzzle, I think.
Yeah, what's kind of your thoughts on all that? Because it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, just want to preface this by saying, I know, like, a lot of people that watch us know we're not very big DeAndre Ayton fans. So this is going to be kind of weird for us. But, yeah, like, I don't think it makes sense for, like, a rebuilding team or for a team in Portland situation to trade for a player like Ayton, but like it makes sense from the whole we're trying to make it look like we did the best we could, because now Joe can say, well, if I made the trade in July, we wouldn't have Ayton because he wasn't on the table then, right? So me holding out got us Ayton as part of this trade. And for the record, I can admit when I don't know things, just because you hear stuff doesn't mean you hear every single detail or know everything or right, whatever. Like, I've been wrong in the past, as every single insider is wrong from time to time, but I'm not saying I'm an insider, by the way. And that's another thing I want to say.
Yeah, let's just get that out of the way now.
For me, yeah, like, those of you who are watching who are new, I have no agenda. I'm not trying to be like a media person. I'm not trying to be something. I just like talking basketball, and I love the Blazers, and I love Damian Lillard, and I've been hearing stuff. I've been lucky enough to develop some relationships over the past few years from doing this show and from talking to people, both on Twitter and in real life and stuff. And that made some pretty cool acquaintances that way. And it's led to me finding out some things or hearing some stuff and whatever. But other than that, like, I just like to share what I hear with people. So, like, I don't give a crap if you believe me or think I'm an a-hole or whatever. But I'm just relaying what I'm hearing from different people. So it's not anything more than that. I'm not trying to take anyone's job, so no one should feel threatened or like, who cares? It's just, yeah, it's just me being me. So anyways, yeah, I'd heard nothing about the Ayton stuff, so that surprised me. I learned at the same time you guys learned that was a possibility. And yeah, so but it does seem like that's the player that Cronin can say, you know, like, near all-star level talent, number one pick, you know, a center that
to the fan base
we've been needing. Yeah, it's exactly what Joe was waiting for. I mean, maybe not exactly Ayton, but like I said, he can now go and say, we waited this long and Ayton became available and we made things happen by waiting. And so he doesn't have to say, oh, I ended up having to take Miami's crappy offer or whatever. I'm not saying it was crappy. I'm just saying, like, that's what he would say. But now he can go to this fan base and say, at least we have a young center to build around and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be the main takeaway from getting Ayton, in my opinion, is that the Blazers will frame it in a way that they won this trade by waiting this long.
Yeah. Ayton, I'm okay with Portland taking a chance on Ayton, assuming it doesn't lead to them giving up too much elsewhere in the trade. Right. If it's just you got the best deal out of Miami and part of that package is Caleb Martin, and then you flip Jusuf Nurkic and Caleb Martin for DeAndre Ayton, I'm cool with that. But this type of deal, you basically have to segment into two separate trades in order to analyze it, in my opinion, because with Portland, you got to maximize what you're getting back from Miami. In a trade like this, they are getting Damian Lillard. They're getting a guy who is considered a top 75 player of all time, who's coming off the best season of his career, averaging 32 points per game on insane efficiency, and he's a perfect fit for not only their culture, but also they need that point guard, shooter, shot creator to help them through some of the offensive lulls that they went on last season when they were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. Now, they were able to make their playoff run because they overachieved from behind the three-point line compared to what they did the year before. But that, who knows if it's sustainable on that level without adding a guy like Damian Lillard, who can help generate more open threes for his teammates, and then also himself is one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time, in my opinion. Dame's a perfect fit. I know the whole narrative has been Miami doesn't have to overpay because they're the only player in this race. We have heard whispers of other teams that have come into this situation, and we could touch upon them a little bit later. But in the end, I've always said it doesn't matter that Miami's the only team here. They're getting Damian Lillard. They should value getting back Damian Lillard, and if they're haggling over a 2030 first-round pick and or Nikola Jovic in this trade, then they are acting stingy and misguided because of the type of player that they're getting back. I think Dame would make them the favorite in the East. I think Dame will win a championship if he ends up in Miami. I think it'll win them a championship. And if you're not willing to give up an extra first or a young player that didn't play for you last year for that, then I don't agree with that. So in the end, it's been Dame is such a huge value to Miami. It doesn't matter that they're not competing against people. You should still be able to get a very good package. And if not, play hardball. I was totally okay with Joe Cronin playing hardball if Miami wasn't giving up that package. Now, I had a tweet. You can follow me on Twitter. It's linked in the description box below. Eric's is linked as well. At Tory Jones YT for me, Torey, and at Hoopsjock for Eric. I had a tweet of a trade that was kind of a gut feeling. And basically it was the Heat get Dame. The Heat send Caleb Martin to Phoenix with Jusuf Nurkic. And then Phoenix sends Ayton to the Blazers. And then the assets that they get back from the Heat were Kyle Lowry as salary filler, expiring contract, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, 2 future firsts, and 2 first-round pick swaps. And basically in that trade, Miami was only giving up 2 first-round picks, 2 swaps, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, Jaime Jaquez, and Nikola Jovic. So they were keeping Tyler Hero, and they also weren't going to OKC to renegotiate the protections on the pick they owe OKC in order to open up future firsts. That feels like they're underpaying a little bit for Dame, and that sort of trade makes me, I know a lot of people would be happy with it. I just feel like that sort of trade would be Portland not getting back as much as they should from Miami. I'm okay with the Ayton part of that trade because it'd basically be flipping Jusuf Nurkic and Caleb Martin to Phoenix for Ayton. It's just more so I still want Portland to extrapolate as much out of Miami as they possibly can because of how good Damian Lillard is and would be for him. So that's what my chat poll was based off of. 55% of you said you'd feel good. 30% of you said you'd feel meh, and 14% of you said not enough. If Cronin got a 3rd first-round pick out of that trade, Eric, I'd feel good. 2 first-round picks, I'm probably in the middle. It's okay. It's not great. It's not bad. And in the end, would you rather have a couple extra firsts or DeAndre Ayton? I know some people would take DeAndre Ayton. I'd probably take the couple of firsts. My opinion probably doesn't matter. You know, that's just kind of my thoughts.
Yeah. I hate everything, so of course I'm gonna hate this. I like it's so weird to me because I'm actually fine with like a Miami package, but I also pick swaps should probably be in there too. Hopefully that those are negotiated as well. Those if they only get 2 picks, they better be unprotected as well. Yeah. See, we talked a lot about this. The Blazers, I've been saying this for months now. The Blazers want to still win. They don't want to be bad next year. And I think that attitude is going to end up making the rebuild much tougher. Because if Ayton balls out, like I saw someone said, Ayton balled out for the Bahamas this summer, he could be really good. And that's true. But like, so what? We're going to get like the 10th pick instead of a top 5 pick or something. And I think ultimately that hurts the rebuild without necessarily making it like a championship contender. So to me, the picks would have been more important for rebuild considering we own our own picks and can be bad. versus getting someone that helps us prove that Dame was like we can win without Dame if you're the front office. So that's just kind of my mindset is I feel like that is the wrong approach to try and win the trade from the fans' perspective, to go after more of a win now player than, especially one making a max contract, because that now it limits because all the talk was about clearing Dame's contract, so you had cap space and stuff for trades. You could take on bad contracts for assets, and now this is all pretty much out the window. So you lose cap flexibility because you're bringing in a max contract player. You lose a little bit of draft capital, most likely, in the Dame trade for future use in trades. And you're a little bit better, but not great. Like, you're not going to be a contender without still making a big move. So I think it does kind of limit the ceiling a little bit by being short-sighted with a trade like that.
Yeah, I understand both sides of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people still believe that Ayton has a certain level of upside that he hasn't reached. I don't necessarily share that opinion, but I understand why people would have it with him being a number one pick, and it's not like he's been a bad player, he's 18-10 guy pretty much. It's just he hasn't really improved much in the past 3 to 4 years, despite his age, because people say he's 25 years old. He's still only 25. The problem for me is just he's kind of stagnated over the past 2 to 3 seasons, so I'm not going to expect a whole bunch more out of him, because why would he, if he hasn't been improving the past 3 years or so, like, why is he going to take a jump now? But maybe he just needs a different situation, a chip on his shoulder, a place to go prove himself. Maybe he needs a point guard like Dame. Dude, I'm so used to saying Dame. See, it's a point guard like Scoot. You know what's funny is because in moving on from Dame, now our main piece of our core is Scoot, and it's still a point guard. I almost think of them as like one and the same. Yeah. I'm so used to saying Dame constantly. So I'm probably going to slip up multiple times next year and say Dame when I mean Scoot. Maybe Ayton needs a point guard like Scoot, though.
Don't forget about Anthony, too.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand both sides of the argument. I don't think anybody can really have a problem with accepting a rebuild in terms of, like, let's just be bad the next couple of years, because the only reason we're in position to move on from Dame is because we had a pick high enough to draft Scoot Henderson. Mm-hmm. If we had the 7th pick and ended up with Jarris Walker, I like Jarris Walker, but he's not like the core guy you want to base your rebuild around. He's a high floor, lower ceiling, like, should be a really good role player and complement your core very, very nicely. And maybe, in the best case scenario, he can be more, right? Scoot Henderson is a guy that a lot of people have tabbed as a future star, maybe even a future Hall of Famer. He would have went first in other drafts, is an opinion that a lot of people have. That's the type of guy you want to center a rebuild around. A guy like him, a guy like Sharp, guys like that have true star upside. And the only reason we were able to get them is because we tanked successfully 2 years in a row. We didn't get lottery luck in the first year, got lucky in terms of Sharp being there at 7 and being able to draft him. But then, of course, we move up last year, and the only reason we're in a position to move on from Dame right now is because our pick was good enough last year, because we were bad enough last year. So
and because Dame agreed to sit out.
Yeah, because Dame, yeah. So continuing that and continuing to stockpile prospects like that is kind of what I want to do. I am not a fan of bringing in a guy who's going to make us like a borderline play-in team, and then maybe we kind of get stuck there, because the whole problem has been Portland's been stuck in the middle. They've consistently made the playoffs, but were never good enough to win a championship and never bad enough to end up at the top of the draft in order to add that top-end talent in terms of prospects. So now we've added 2 of those guys. We're in a good position to start a rebuild. It's just we're going to have a lot of discussions in terms of our content around what is next? Like, what is the best path moving forward? Is it to get guys like Ayton and hope they break out? Or is it to just purely focus on development, focus on developing Scoot, Sharp, Anthony Simons as best as possible, and expect a lot of growing pains with that, as is normally the case with player development? And in the end, it results in something where you're probably ending up with a high draft pick and maybe can get another star to add to that core. And better yet, a star that is going to be on a relatively cheap contract the first 4 years of his career because of rookie scale contracts compared to somebody like Ayton who's making a max. So that is kind of the, getting Ayton might involve some opportunity cost, because if they get Ayton in this trade, Eric, I do feel a little bit better about them being a little bit better. Yeah. I do feel like they will be a little bit better if they get Ayton. I think Ayton is a bit better than Nurkic. I don't think he's as much better. I don't think he's as much better as other people think he is than Nurkic. Like, I think Nurkic is underrated. I think Nurkic gets slept on. But I do expect the team to be a little bit better next year. So opportunity cost
Moses Brown
matters,
as the
man.
backup.
Yeah. Then again, we got Moses Brown as the backup. We got who knows who plays the backup center minutes. That's basically what to think about in terms of getting Ayton. Now, I'm happy with the trade if we're just basically getting Ayton thrown in and we're still getting 3 firsts or maybe even 4 firsts from Miami. Like, if we're able to maximize the value from Miami and get 3 or 4 firsts and then just take a chance on Ayton on top of it, like, I will have absolutely no problem with that trade whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we get 4 firsts and Ayton, that mitigates it a little bit.
Probably a little bit optimistic, though.
Yeah. Hopefully, there's some swaps involved and things like that. But yeah, it is interesting from Phoenix's perspective. It does scare me a little bit as well if they're willing to dump Ayton for a role-playing wing and Nurkic.
Before ever getting a chance to see what he looks like under Vogel, too.
Right. So, yeah, that does kind of scare me a little bit, especially since they have an owner that hasn't cared about money, so contracts aren't necessarily a bad thing for him. Because, like, a normal team might want to, get a cheaper contract center. Like, Nurkic isn't a huge drop-off, potentially. The thing about the Nurkic versus Ayton thing is they're just so different in the way they play. And I do think a little bit will hurt the offense for the Blazers not having Nurkic setting screens and his passing out of the roll, because I don't think Ayton provides that same level of those two things. And he's not quite as good of a rebounder as Nurkic too, so then is rebounding going to be a huge, even bigger problem? Or maybe he steps up rebounding and it's all fine. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works, and if Nurkic's playmaking looks nice with that loaded roster with KD and Beal and Booker, if that's what happens. Just all around interesting. And then he's reunited with Eubanks and
Well, let me just speak on that. I was muted. Nurkic next to those 3 guys. Okay, screen setting, I know, is not sexy. It's not flashy. But as I've said before, dude sets one of the best screens in the league. If you have that level of screen setting for Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant, I have to wonder if part of the reason why Phoenix is willing to do this is because they want a dude that just sets massive screens, because he'll get those dudes loads of space. And you can't give a guy like KD space in the mid-range. He will destroy you. He's the best mid-range pull-up shooter in the league at almost 7 feet tall. If his guy's getting cleared off of screens because he got Jusuf Nurkic setting them, I mean, I think Nurkic will benefit their offense. Sure, he might miss a few more layups than Ayton, But I think his screen setting is phenomenal. I know Ayton sets a solid screen as well, but Nurk is different, man. Watching it for years, how much space Dame would have coming off those screens, I think Booker, Beal, KD, I think they'd love it. So it would be interesting to hear Phoenix Suns fans have the Nurkic versus Eubanks debate, though, and basically those guys just can't avoid each other, maybe?
Yeah. DJ Vegas says Nurkic is going to become a good stretch big like Horford and Lopez. Yeah, Brook Lopez didn't used to shoot threes earlier in his career, and Nurk started doing that, so maybe he can continue to do that. But I think, you get him with a good defensive coach like Vogel. And, Brook Lopez wasn't a great defender most of his career, and then he was second in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year or something like that. He became a good, solid rim protector when he was in a good team concept. So I definitely think Nurk has the capability of having that resurgence on another team. It's going to be really interesting to see what Suns fans end up thinking about him and stuff.
Yeah, let me read off some member messages and donations. Shout out to Hyper Prime, member for 22 months. What's up, man? Says, when we trade Dame, will this channel support him? Absolutely. We've had Dame side in this. We've had Dame side in this the entire way. We get asked all the time. We are obviously Blazer fans. We will continue to cover the Portland Trail Blazers. We will be here. We will be rooting for the development of this young core. It's funny how I have to reiterate that numerous times that, yes, I am a Blazer fan, but I am also a Dame fan at the same time. It's possible to be both, and I will be rooting for him to win a championship wherever he goes. If the Blazers make the finals somehow in the next couple of years and we're going against Dame, I'm rooting for the Blazers to win in the NBA Finals. I want nothing more than a championship for this Portland Trail Blazer team. Or just any of my teams, because I've never had a single one of my favorite teams in any sport ever win a championship. That's what I want. I'll be rooting for Dame. Still rooting for the Blazers over everything. So,
yeah, same here. I got that a lot today. Why don't you go to Miami with Dame and all that crap? Okay, I'm 44 years old. I'm a lifelong Blazer fan. I've been a Blazer fan long before Dame was even born. I'm still going to be a Blazer fan. And let's not get it twisted. It's possible to not like a front office or not like an ownership group or not like a specific owner or not like moves they've done or not liking the fact that they never built a winner around Dame like they promised, but also still be fans of Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. And I'm one of Anthony Simon's biggest fans. Like you guys know, I love Anthony Simons. So I'm still going to root hard for my team, and it's still great. But at the same time, I can also not like ownership and the front office and the GM. So it's kind of weird because for years, most of you hated Neil Olshey, and towards the end, that was pretty much universal. But no one was saying if you hated on Neil Olshey, you couldn't be a Blazer fan anymore and get your butt out of town if you don't like Neil Olshey, right? But now a different GM, I'm not allowed to be critical of him or whatever. It's really it's really stupid. But so I'm still gonna root for the players. I have nothing against any of the players, including Scoot Henderson. He's gonna be amazing, and truly believe he'll be a superstar one day, and hopefully makes us all forget about Damian Lillard in that sense. It'd be cool if Dame came back at the end of his career and they won a ring together. But outside of that, the Blazers, when they're playing the Heat, I will root for the Blazers. And that scenario where they played each other in the finals, sure, I'll root for the Blazers. But outside of that, I will absolutely be rooting for Damian Lillard to win a ring this year with Miami. I think Dame will show the world how good he really is when he's on a team like that with good coaching and competent defensive players like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo.
Yeah. Shout Chris S. member for 31 months says the difference between Dame's mentality and Ayton's is cavernous. It's adding insult to injury to drive Dame out and then sign him as a marquee player. Yeah, Ayton's mentality worries me a little bit. I just want dudes with a chip on their shoulder that's going to bring it night in, night out, that you don't have to worry about if they're going to bring it any given game or not. You know, I just want dudes that are consistent. Scoot is that type of mentality. I love that about him. You know, I've talked about Cooper Flagg in the future. Like, I would love to be able to draft Cooper Flagg in the future because he also has that same sort of chip on his shoulder, like, he's going to play his ass off, he's going to play hard. I just want guys that get after it. Hopefully on both ends of the court, but just in general, play their ass off. And people say Ayton just needs a new situation. I want dudes that create a good situation, don't need a good situation to create themselves as a better player. I want dudes that create a good culture. You look at what Miami's done, Heat culture, all of that. I want this team and organization to establish a similar culture. I want dudes here that are dogs, play their asses off. I think Scoot is going to be great for that. I think Scoot will be a phenomenal leader. Ayton, I don't know if he fits that. Based on what he's done so far in his career, I'm worried that he doesn't really fit that, but maybe he would here. Like, I'll give him a chance, too. 1,000%, you know? And even if he doesn't, if he's productive, he's productive. Like, that's what matters at the end of the day. Are you productive or are you not? Because if you're productive, it's going to make the team better. And that goes for anybody on this team. You know, I want to develop an identity that, it's what Chauncey talked about. Like, teams don't want to play us. And he's said that statement in the past, and it was always funny to look back on because, you know, a month later, we're once again the worst defense in the league, and teams love playing us because it means it's a chance for anybody in their rotation to get 30 points. I don't want to be that team anymore. So, you know, that's just kind of what I look ahead to in terms of mentality as we move on from Dame.
Yep. I mean, I guess Ayton could be on a mission to prove all the doubters wrong. He seems to be that way already with a new coach and stuff. So hopefully that's true. It's just we've talked at length on the show about how unless it's like Jokic or Embiid, like that level center, I don't think paying a center that's not truly one of the best couple centers in the league a max contract is the best way to build out your roster.
Yeah. Like, if they're your best offensive player or, like, a true legitimate anchor of your defense, it's fine. Because Bam is the absolute anchor of Miami's defense. Rudy Gobert in the past, I think, was worth a max contract. He's fallen off a bit, but he was the anchor of Utah's defenses, and I thought it justified a max contract because of how good he was defensively. So, you know, I don't feel great about the contract. The Blazers with cap space in the next couple years wouldn't be signing free agents, but you can use that cap space to take on contracts, to get more future first-round picks, to accumulate assets. That's what rebuilding teams do. And then down the line, when you're ready to add around Scoot and Sharp and they're developing well, then you have all these trade assets to maybe go get a star and then you're contenders. The one thing I am worried about is Portland ending up in a situation where it's like, oh, we just don't have enough in order to build around our point guard, and then they get stuck in between again, because that's literally what we just saw in the past decade.
Yeah. So just building out the roster. So you got Jeremy Grant's like 29 or something like that. I believe is late 20s.
Look it up. Basketball Reference open as I always do when we stream.
So he signed a 5-year deal, but he's not really the long-term answer at power forward for the young team. Like, it's fine maybe for a year or two, but you're probably going to have to move him, and hopefully you get good value when you do. And then we don't really know who the long-term small forward is. Now, maybe there's a chance Scoot, Anthony, and Sharp all play so well, and then you got a big man like Ayton, and you find that right power forward. Maybe the 5 of those players, whoever that power forward ends up being, can be a good mix, even if you're playing Sharp a little out of position at the 3. I still think that'd be fine. He can move down and play backup guard and stuff. So you're okay, but I don't know if that doesn't work out and you have to choose 2 out of the 3 between Scoot, Anthony, and Sharp, then you're still going to need a small forward for the future as well. So to me, the way I would have built this out, and once, like Tori said, it's completely fine if you feel differently or would have built differently. But for me, I would build as many or get as many future assets as possible. And the reason why I like picks that are out further, because like when we traded for Josh Hart for the Knicks 2023 pick, we basically had 4 months to use it, and then it turns into Chris Murray, and now that whole value is tied to either Chris Murray being good or average and not having much value, or not being good and having 0 value, right? So you only had a few months to do it, and you already kind of knew what the range of that pick was going to end up being. So it wasn't like extremely valuable or anything. But with like a 2028 or a 2030 first, you have 5 to 7 years to use it. So you have a couple of years where Scoot and Shaden are developing, and you're not very good. And you probably pick up, since we control our own picks as long as they're in the lottery through 2028, we could pick up a couple of great players, maybe get lucky and hit a home run with Cooper Flay or whatever. But that's not important. But whatever you do, you get a couple of top 10 picks, and then you add to that. And then in 2 to 3 years, 2025 to 2026, you're still sitting there with all these future picks, and Scoot and Sharp are ready to maybe take that step towards contention. And then you have the ability to then package all of them to make that all-in move without trading any of your core. Whereas now, if you get less assets back and you're a little better, you wouldn't have as good of prospects theoretically, unless you get super lucky in a lottery or something. And then at the same time, when it does come to make that all-in move or to find those players at the positions we were talking about, then we don't have as many trade chips to have like an overwhelming over-the-top package. So I think a lot of my problems with Ayton is that people want to like win the Dame trade without thinking that you could still win it in the future by using those assets to get an Ayton type player down the road. But like, you don't necessarily have to do it right this second in the trade. But ultimately, I think that's what Portland's going to end up doing.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes back to how many firsts do they get in the deal. If they're giving up first so they can get Ayton, then I have a problem. If not, I'm cool with it. If not, I'm definitely okay with it. It's just, yeah, for all those reasons, like picks in the future, especially for Miami, could be good. I know everybody assumes they're going to be bad, but Dame, Jimmy Butler could be out of the league by 2028. Pat Riley could be out of the league by 2028. Who knows what the Heat are? And they're basically going all in on a core that's pretty old. If they're trading Hawkes and Jovic, they don't have much in terms of young talent. How are they going to build a future so that those picks aren't in the top 10? And if they're unprotected, they're ours. So definitely, at the bare minimum, want 2 unprotected Miami firsts. I can stomach the trade as long as we're getting Jovic, Hawkes, and 2 future Miami firsts. If Ayton's thrown in on top of that, like, I'm okay with that. Because I think, we can sit here and say they need to get a 3rd first. Miami needs to go to OKC and renegotiate their first to open up like their 2024 first, right? It's a kind of a complicated process, but Miami could hypothetically open up their 2024 first round pick. Mm-hmm. That pick is going to be late.
Well, I don't think
pick
that's very complicated, but
yeah, it's complicated to explain maybe. So I'm not gonna take a bunch of time to explain it. Regardless, a 2024 first is going to be a late first round pick if they have Dame, because that's next year. I'd rather have the 2028 first round pick where we have no idea what they're going to look like. They could be really bad. Maybe they're still good. Maybe they sign guys because it's Miami and people want to play in South Beach. But they could be pretty bad by 2028, 2029, 2030. So having assets with that level of upside is very intriguing to me. If they get swaps in 2027 and 2029 on top of those two Miami first, like, it could be something where, depending on what else is included, it might not look good for Portland, but down the line, if Miami is struggling and doesn't have their first round picks to be able to get out of a hole during that time span, that's 4 picks in a row that could be top 10 picks while the Blazers are good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing, is in the future, it could look a lot better.
So that's what happens with the Celtics and Nets trade. The Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett trade. The Celtics were decent, and they kept getting high picks because of the Nets.
Yeah, exactly. And they got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown because of those picks. So, that's kind of where I'm focused on picks-wise. I want at least 2 unprotected firsts and 2 swaps. If Ayton's thrown in on top of that, like, I'm okay with the trade. Hopefully get Jovic and Hawkins back too. It's just going to be interesting to see how many of these assets that they get. Assuming Ayton's involved, I would assume that it's the 2028 and 2030 first for Miami. It's 2 swaps in 2027 and 2029, and then it's Ayton going to Portland, and then hopefully Jovic and Hawkins. Mm-hmm. And then Miami gives up, whether it's Hero to a third team for a pick or a forward, maybe it's Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets who gets sent with Nurkic to the Suns for Ayton. Like, Miami, the extra value that would be coming Portland's way has to go somewhere else in order to get Ayton. Maybe it's Caleb Martin, and Caleb Martin is enough with Nurkic for the Suns to trade Ayton. But basically at that point they just have to incentivize them. So that's a curious part of this. And there definitely seems to be smoke on Ayton. I do trust Gambo. He's from people in Phoenix. He's reputable. He's been at this a long time. And he's the one that's been hinting at Ayton. So maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe Phoenix is interested, but they can't find a deal that makes it work, and Dame is instead just traded to Miami. Maybe a team comes out of nowhere and it offers an amazing package for Dame, and it's not Miami. I mean, we cannot rule that out until the Dame trade is completely through. But everything that we've heard is Miami. So we'll see. I do expect Miami in the end. Let me read the rest of those. Unless you want to touch upon anything, let me read the rest of these.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get more into what you just said in a minute. John Nash keeps asking me in chat, if I was Phoenix, would I have taken DeAndre Ayton number 1? No, I would have taken Luka Doncic. And yeah, so they were stupid to not take Luka. Sacramento was stupid not to take Luka. And I think Atlanta was stupid to trade Luka. But that's just me.
Chad Cohen chat says Gambo called pretty much their whole offseason. Yeah, as a Suns fan, I don't pay a ton of attention to him, but it seems like he gets pretty good reviews down there, which good reviews doesn't necessarily mean that.
As a Suns fan.
Huh? Since I'm not a Suns fan.
Yeah, I thought you said as a Suns fan. I was like, what?
Yeah, whoops, I outed myself. I'm joining Gabe and them. Nah, I mean, we'll see. Like, no reporter has ever batted 100%. But when it comes to, people that don't like what Eric's reported on this situation, or for whatever reason don't like Eric in general, because you haven't batted 100% in the past, Eric, you can't be trusted at all, according to some people, which is frustrating for me to see, because your intel on the situation has been, in my opinion, very, very spot on and made sense given the way this entire thing has gone down. And if you guys haven't been here with us through the offseason, then that's unfortunate. If you aren't following Drew Star with all his aggregation, that's unfortunate. Because let me just say this before we continue. I'm kind of ready for the spotlight to be off of us a little bit, where I could just like relax again. That's part of the whole thing where I'm just ready for the situation to be over so I can just focus on the team and talking about basketball compared to just all the drama surrounding this situation with such a spotlight on it. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Definitely be less fun.
Yeah. Colonel Pancakes, $10 dono says, good luck to the GOAT. Blazer Dame time. It's time to turn the chapter and get behind Scoot, Sharp, Simons, Ayton, Grant, and do not sleep on Little. I got that feeling about Nasir. Yeah, if the Blazers get back like Hawkes and Jovic and Nas, and they got Jabari Walker, Chris Murray, all off the bench, guys are going to have to win positional battles in order to get minutes. And Nasir would be in a positional battle directly with Jaime Hawkes. Because Jaime Hawkes, in my opinion, is a 3. He's very undersized for the 4. I think he's a 3 that can maybe slide down and play some 2 in the league, but he's very clearly a 3. I think Nas is a 3 as well. Those guys are going to have to compete for minutes. Mm-hmm. And it would be interesting to see who wins those minutes.
I will say that's the one thing about your trade. Blazers are not going into the tax. And that trade.
They weren't going into what were they? Is Fanspo lying to me? I did not have the mental capacity to do math, my own math. Because Fanspo said they were under the tax.
I think they're about 3.5 million or something under the tax right now.
How are they that? I know they re-signed Grant, but how are they that close?
Bible too.
Yeah, they're. Eric, what if now they would go into the tax?
Oh, dude, no. We've
just for
we've joked about it,
purposes.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going into the tax, so Nas somewhere else, maybe like, you know, that could be a part that holds up this trade a little bit. The financials are interesting. We'll talk about them from Phoenix's end, because I do want to talk about various other teams, including Phoenix and including some of the other teams that have been rumored to maybe have interest in Damian Lillard. So shout out Colonel I already thanked that dono. Thank you, Pancakes. I could go for some pancakes right now. Shout out to Oscar, member for 20 months, says Nurk going to help them so much and he will be missed. Yeah, I think Nurk will be solid in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. I think his screens more than anything, but I also think defensively he's not as bad as people say, and maybe under Frank Vogel on that team will look a little bit better. I'll be watching him all season long if he ends up in Phoenix, and it'll be interesting to compare and contrast him and Eubanks if they both play.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun little storyline over the course of the season. So,
how many people are going to be calling for Eubanks to start over?
They're already doing it. They're already saying Eubanks is better. Why would we get Nurk? I don't understand it at all. Shout out to Jackson, member for 31 months. Says Suns won our center rotation from last year. Yeah, apparently. If only they could have signed Trendon Watford before Brooklyn did and just had the trifecta.
Oh, he's on a non-guaranteed training camp deal, so they still could.
Yeah.
But they got Bol, so it doesn't matter.
Shout out to Timothy Ross, $2 donation, says, what does a Phoenix-Portland-Miami trade look like? It involves, I mean, my guess would be Caleb Martin and Nurkic to Phoenix for Ayton to go to Portland, and then Miami gives up assets for Dame. Some of the assets that kind of we've talked about all summer since the whole Dame saga started.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Trader Bogues with a $2 donation, says, any idea who a fourth team would be for this to happen? If Phoenix doesn't want Caleb Martin or Miami doesn't want to give him up, it could be Tyler Hero to a fourth team for assets. And the best guess I could throw out there is maybe it's Brooklyn, because I could see Phoenix having interest in both Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal. And Brooklyn has a ton of forwards. Could maybe use a little bit more scoring punch. So I could see them maybe swinging one of those forwards for Tyler Hero for a guard. That's something that might make some sense. Shout out to Boom, $10 donation, says, appreciate you guys always listening, but can't often make it due to work. I'm ready for the whole saga to be over. Keep up the great work. Hashtag Brant Believer. Much love.
Thanks, Boom.
I appreciate you, bro. Shout out to Dro with a $5 Durono says, yo, what franchise has tanked and won a championship 2 to 5 years later? Stacking up on picks and developing players seems to not work. Veterans win. Eric, you want to answer that question?
I mean, that's why we didn't want to go this route. I mean, that's exactly why we wanted to still try to win with Dame. Yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about the history of rebuilds and going that route, and that is true. But I mean, like, Golden State won multiple titles off all players they drafted and stuff. It's not necessarily like a case where you can't do it. You just have to make the right moves when it becomes time to, and that's part of the problem. Is I don't currently trust this organization to be able to make those moves when we need to make them.
I am not a fan of arguments of like, what team has won a championship with, a 33-year-old point guard?
Mm-hmm.
Like, therefore we should trade Dame. What team has won a championship after they've tanked, Like, I mean, championships are hard to win, and there's a bunch of different ways to get there. So, I'll tell you what, Denver, this past season, was the first champion who got there because of a player they drafted in the 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before that, what team has ever won a championship behind a player that was drafted in the 40s?
Right.
Well, Denver did it. So, that's the thing is there's no...
With one all-star.
Yeah, it's always about just doing what's best for your own franchise in order to put the best product on the floor. There's so many different ways to try and get there. There's so many different players in the league, draft prospects, other teams. Like, it's so fluid that I don't like putting stuff in a box like that.
Right. See, for me is, even if that was 100% true, I still think tanking a couple years is the right move to acquire as much talent as possible, and then you add the right vets to that talent, which is something that never really happened with Dame, unfortunately. But yeah, like, even if they were going to keep Sharp last year, I think the mistake was not having the right rotation around Dame while keeping Sharp, versus just like keeping Sharp and drafting him.
Yeah, exactly. Kyle will answer that question in a second. Shout out to Trader Bogues with a $2 donation. Says, Hero off the table, feel like we can flip him for picks. I think Miami would haggle on only trading one of Hero and Caleb Martin. So if Phoenix wants Caleb Martin, then there's a chance that Miami could keep Hero. Shout out to Murray with a $2 Australian donation. He actually has two of them. Thank you, Murray. Says, Ayton is the next Shaq, guys. Scoot and Ayton 2024. If we end up with DeAndre Ayton, I hope he's the next Shaq. But
yeah,
it's a little optimistic. And then the other one said, I still miss Watford. Why didn't Cronin keep him? I still don't understand why Cronin did not keep him. But Watford's a skilled player, but kind of stuck without a position and stuck without a specific archetype that he can defend well. It's just really hard to find a role for Watford is the problem. If he was 3 inches taller, he would be a rotation player on a really good team, in my opinion. Shout out to PDX Papermaker, a.k.a. Carson. What's up, Carson? Member for 60 months. Says, holy W. Since when does 580 plus people show up to Blazers Uprise Live? Love. Well, we're doing it on the main channel, that's why. So if you guys aren't subscribed to our second channel where we normally do these streams during the off season, where we're going to have a ton of content next season in terms of podcasts, go subscribe to our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Link down in the description box below. We're going to be rebranding it on October 1st. Okay, we're going to be naming it something else, so stay tuned. Looking forward to content next season. And then shout out to Rip City 208 with a $5 donation. Says, my hope is this isn't a real goodbye to Dame. He will be back for his final year in the league and retire a Trailblazer. And then another donation from Rip City 208 says, It's a $2 donut. Says, also, F the haters. You guys are awesome. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Haters have been a little tough to deal with in the past. I mean, just all off season, actually. I try not to let it get to me, but man, it's some people are just a little bit ruthless. As far as a goodbye to Dame, I want to see him retire in a Blazer uniform, not just something where he signs a one-day contract and retires. I want to see him finish his career here like Dwayne Wade did in Miami. But it's tough to see it happening with this regime, given some of the stuff that has gone on. So
yeah, just gotta hope Dame plays long enough to outlive this current front office and ownership.
Yep. Anyway, we're caught up. Thank you all. If you leave a message or donation, we'll read it off like in a bit because there is a bunch of stuff we got to touch upon. As far as the question in chat, I said I was going to answer. It's from Kyle Hostetler. He says, when do you think the Dame trade ends up happening? Do you think it happens in the next 24 hours? Eric, do you think it happens in the next 24 hours?
I mean, it really feels like it's close to happening, but with the weekend starting, tomorrow or tomorrow night, I don't know. I could see it going into next week. I don't have any information on when it's going to happen, just that it is going to happen at some point in the near future.
Yeah. It sounds like they're close on something. Of course, there's always final hurdles to get over in negotiations that sometimes might seem like they'll be easy to get over, but sometimes there's complications. You hear about deals all the time that were agreed upon or close to agreed upon that fall apart. I don't think this one will fall apart. It's just with multiple teams and a lot of moving pieces to sort out, there is going to be some details that maybe need to be hammered out in order to truly get this thing done. I think that's all we're waiting on.
Yeah. That Flash Sports Buzz Twitter page that's been tweeting information. No. It's one of those guys that's being quoted. Barry Jackson is his name. He just tweeted out a few minutes ago, thanks to those in chat pointing it out. After no contact with the Heat for weeks, Blazers are now taking Lillard conversation seriously. Heat has patiently waited, knowing Lillard trade is a clear avenue to take them to another level.
Yeah. It sounds like Portland and Miami started talking in the past day or two. I don't know when, but I know there was a local report from another podcast that said, like, it's a lie. Portland and Miami are talking when literally everybody else
that's not what he said. It was a lie that Miami doesn't know what Portland wants.
Miami doesn't. That's what it was.
Okay. So, yeah,
I'll let you go into detail because it was widely reported by national guys, Miami guys, and some Portland guys that Miami wasn't entirely sure what Portland wanted, and there was a lack of communication on Portland's end.
Okay, yeah, and Meringue said that Aaron Goodwin, Dame's agent, knows what Portland wants, and therefore Miami for sure knows what they want. Okay. It's not that simple. You can't just say, we're looking for an all-star level player, or we're looking for a win-now player, which is kind of what they did. But, like, you can't just say that and then leave it at that and then not say anything else. Like, that doesn't help them get that player because that could mean anything. Like, Zach LaVine, like, the Blazers aren't interested in Zach LaVine, right? But
yeah,
he's an all-star level player, right? I guess. So if they traded for him, if the Heat got him to the Blazers as part of a package, that's supposed to make Joe happy. Like, so they can't even like ask him about certain players like that. Like that's the problem. You can't just, the Blazers all along have been kind of waffling. And this is another thing that we've mentioned, is that the Blazers ultimately were going to have to make a decision on whether to just keep Dame into the season or take whatever Miami's best offer ended up being if no other team ended up stepping up either by giving more for Hero or, you know, a player like Ayton that comes into the mix. So the problem is, like, Miami could have at any point said, hey, this is our best offer. This is as much as we can get. If we trade Caleb for a first, we trade Hero for a first, we give you Jaquez and Jovic at expirings. Like, this is 5 firsts and Jovic and Jaquez and Lowry. The Blazers weren't sure if they would do that or not. So how, and they wouldn't answer if they would do that. So that's the problem. They wouldn't say whether they would do that or not. And I see this all over is like, well, Cronin couldn't tell them what he wanted because then he's like out leveraged by them because then they know what he wants and he's limited on what he can get then. And it's like, I just keep thinking, how come this guy, Joe Cronin, like, he can't do a single thing without being out leveraged in any trade? Like, that's always the excuse. He had no leverage, or he was close, but, you know, like that's all. That's all they ever say is excuses for why he doesn't get trades done or why he had to make bad trades. But it's like, at some point, isn't he just not good at what he's doing? But despite all that, it's like, how is Miami supposed to know what to get them if they didn't even know if Portland would accept the trade if they got them that? So that's what it's been happening. Yes, they knew what Portland wanted to win or wanted a win now player or wanted an all-star player, but they don't. That's not enough to know what to get them. You know, like it has to be more specific than that.
Yeah. And I will say this, as far as kind of the lack of communication on Portland's end, maybe it's not Joe Cronin's fault, maybe it's ownership's fault, because ownership means Jody Allen and Burt Cold, because there is a chance that one of those two just don't want to trade him to Miami, and Joe will follow the orders of ownership. Like, maybe it's on Joe's end, maybe it's on ownership's end. I don't know. Just wanted to raise that possibility because there is some hard feelings here. There does seem to be some spitefulness here. And that's why this is just such a messy situation. That's why I'm so I'm just tired of dealing with it, because there's just drama, and it's not something that's simple where it's like, okay, Portland's going to sit down with Miami and try and do right by Dame, and Miami's going to sit down and like be willing to give up justified value for a top 75 player of all time coming off his greatest season ever. No, it was Pat Riley's going to try and fleece him, and the Blazers organization is mad about how it's only Miami and mad at how Dame dealt with this, and Dame's mad at them. It's just everybody's mad at each other. It has transferred over to the fan bases. It's become a situation within just both these fan bases, Heat fans, Blazer fans, where it's like, if somebody's reporting something that you don't like, you attack them, you mock them, and you try and degrade them. There was a whole thing from Trista Crick, who's a BetMGM host, radio person, who all of a sudden is like dropping videos. I guess she's a Blazer fan, but it's like from her point of view, and she had a video where she's like mocking Barry Jackson for something he reported, as if he's just some nobody, not credible, no idea what he's talking about, like basically mocking him out to be a joke. And Barry Jackson, as people in chat were saying when we brought him up a few minutes ago, is one of the most respected reporters in Miami, has been doing it for a very long time and is very reputable. But because we don't like what he's reporting, we're going to attack him and degrade him and be hostile. And this is just kind of a message to some Blazer fans. Like, this fan base has disappointed me, because there's a large section of this fan base who, if someone reports something they don't like or don't agree with, they will try and discredit them to no lengths. And we've received it. I've seen it towards Gambo. I've seen it towards Barry Jackson, right? Those two guys are super reputable. We're obviously not as reputable as them, but whatever. Like, we don't care. It's just, it's very frustrating how it's gotten to a point where there is a section of this fan base that will try and tear down and attack and be completely hostile and try and bully anybody who has a report that they don't like, that they don't agree with. And I'm just hoping in the future we can be better. But I am just like beyond tired with that. And I know some people will talk about like, oh, well, you will criticize credentialed reporters when they report something on Portland. I have said numerous times in regards to credentialed reporters that are like directly tied to a GM or a front office and a local media scene, that a lot of their reporting is likely going to sway in favor of that GM or be fueled by something that GM is telling them. And I don't fault those reporters one bit. Pointing that out is not faulting them one bit, because it's a job, right? And they have access, and they have access for a reason. And that access is directly with the organization. So that's what we've always tried to explain with reports, is there is likely to be some skew to anything you hear because it's going to be dependent upon where it's heard from. But we got to get past the point of just attacking and bringing people down and being hostile towards people and being disrespectful, insulting them because they report something that you don't like.
And then those same people will call you the a-hole.
Yeah. So that's what Eric has dealt with a ton. It's pissed me off to see Eric dealing with it. By extension, I've dealt with some of it. Like, hopefully once the situation is over with, we can move past that. We will see. We will see. I don't expect some people to kind of move beyond that, but well, I'm hoping we can. And that's why I'm just absolutely done with this freaking situation, is because I'm tired of like the middle school tribalism, hostility towards anyone who doesn't think exactly what you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, Omar brings up Aaron Fentress, which is, it's funny because, like, I mean, we've made fun of Aaron Fentress, some of the questions he's asked in interviews or things he's said or whatever before. But it doesn't necessarily mean that anything he's reporting is automatically wrong on this whole situation. Like, that's what I don't get, is like, he's a piece of crap and he's like a loser and has no credibility simply because he's saying that Dame should go to Miami, right? That makes him lose all credibility when everything he says could be in fact truth, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's not making stuff up. Most people won't just make stuff up, especially if they have a platform, because it's really hard to make stuff up and be right. In the end, if you're making stuff up, you're probably just going to look absolutely awful. So there's nothing to gain from it, you know? I actually think it's hurt us more than it's helped us reporting on stuff, but Eric's going to report what he hears, you know? And that's what most people are going to do. And some people talk to Portland side of things, and some people talk to Dame side of things, and some people talk to Miami side of things. So hopefully this is a learning experience. Hopefully we can be better in the next situation. Maybe myself included. Maybe I'm not good enough. If I'm not good enough, tell me. You know what I mean? I just, the hostility is just off the rails. And it's frustrating, man. Because in the end, everybody's still human. And I know the internet can be vicious, right? Like, I expect it. In the end, we're all human. Don't dehumanize someone.
Shout out to that one guy yesterday who apologized and said he was in the wrong. That was cool.
Shout out to that guy, yeah. And if you don't believe us, you don't believe us. That's fine. We can handle with people not believing us or questioning us or taking things with a grain of salt. We can handle that. I have no problem with that. I wish that's all it was. I wish that's all it was. Brandon Sleep in chat says, it's not just your guys' side. A lot of our Miami side has been totally unsympathetic to a fan base that is losing their favorite player. We know how this feels from when D-Wade left for Chicago. And yeah, like, that's the other thing. Stop grouping whole groups of people into one box just because you dealt with a few bad ones. Like, I've met a lot of cool Miami fans. I've talked to a lot of cool Miami fans that say, yeah, well, we should give more, or we understand how you feel because of the whole Dwayne Wade situation when he left. Like, I've met a lot of cool Miami fans. There's people out there just like, every Miami fan sucks. Miami fans are the absolute worst. Like, I hope they don't get them because screw all of them. Like, it's just this whole like tribalistic mindset. It's just completely hostile. And it's like, we're on the internet thinking about sports in this way, a sport that isn't even going on right now. It's September and it's the NBA. Like, it's just frustrating. So shout out to all the Heat fans that have been cool with us. Shout out to all the Blazer fans that have been cool with us. His situation did not need to get as hostile in terms of the discussion around it. Unfortunately, it did. And that's why I'm so ready to freaking move on so we can talk about freaking basketball in a way that is fun and not so freaking angry and hostile. Like, I'm going into next season with the least expectations as possible. I'm ready for some basketball, and I'm ready just to see what Scoot provides and what this team looks like, and have fun covering it. That's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. So as for my tweet earlier today, then now is a good time to talk about this. So yeah, I heard from someone very close to the situation that the trade is going to happen and that Dame is going to Miami. Now, there's been all kinds of other rumors about other teams in the past few days, which I'll get to in a second. So there is a little bit of, could Cronin screw them over once again? Because, they do not trust his front office. They do not trust Joe Cronin in particular. So, like, they wouldn't put it past him to pull the rug or do something stupid. Like earlier today, Drew Starr was telling me about how before they got Jimmy Butler, they actually had a trade with Chicago lined up for Jimmy Butler, and Tom Thibodeau like called and asked for Bam at the last second, and Pat Riley was like no, and he like pulled the deal and then ended up trading him to Minnesota instead. And so like stuff like that can happen. But yeah, as far as what I heard is that the deal is going to go down, and despite all these other teams, Dame is for sure going to be landing in Miami. And let's talk about the other teams for a second. So Philly, we talked about that a lot on Monday. They definitely were a team. There ended up being mystery teams, not team. Now, none of them ended up coming close to offering stuff. So Philly was one of them, but they don't have many assets, and it would have been hard for them to get enough assets like we talked about. And Chicago, I was going to bring up Chicago on Monday. I'm mad at myself for not bringing it up. But Chicago, I guess we could get our pick back, but they don't have a lot of assets either, unless there's a third team for Levine. And now we're back in that same type of problem where, it's like Hero or Levine or whatever. I know Levine probably has a little more trade value, but we're trying to get now another team involved for those assets. All right. And then Toronto was involved too, but let me just get this out of the way. I've been saying this all along. Scotty Barnes was never in the conversations. They were never going to include Scotty Barnes in a Dame trade. They were never going to make a trade for Dame, and that's the problem. All these other teams, like we've been telling you, we're all hoping to come in and just get that spite trade where they gave up similar value to Miami's offer, but somehow got Dame without having to give up some really good players or whatever. So the Toronto thing, yeah, they wanted to do it without giving up, without giving him up, and I don't see how they could do that. Um, there is, I did see some stuff about Toronto possibly giving Phoenix OG instead of like them getting Caleb Martin or whatever, and that would entice Phoenix to do that part of the trade. And if Ayton's ultimately what Portland wants, and they're not, Phoenix doesn't think they're quite getting enough from Miami as in addition to Nurkic or whatever, like Nurkic and OG for Ayton, that would be pretty interesting for Phoenix. But then what do we get, right? So then you go back to, okay, that makes sense for Phoenix and maybe Toronto, but why? Okay, so we're getting Ayton and maybe like a pick or two, and what else are we getting in that? Because it's not Scotty Barnes, so yeah, like I don't know what.
Grady Dick. We get to say Dick all year.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Grady and Koloko or something. I don't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Portland really liked any of what they were offering either. They do owe a pick to San Antonio. I believe it's only. Actually, I have it written down. It's only top 6 protected for the next 3 years. So that case, there's no real incentive for San Antonio to change the protections, really. Because if they get Dame, they're not going to be good, or that pick is not going to be good this year. So you could unprotect it, but San Antonio would have gotten it anyway, so what's in it for them? So you'd have to incentivize them, so then Portland gets even less.
Or you have to word it like Portland gets a first 2 years after, like you can do some confusing wording that would ultimately end up conveying to 2 first-round picks, but...
Yeah.
So the most you get back from Toronto is 2 first-round picks. You get Grady Dick and you get DeAndre Ayton.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean... If what you said was true earlier about Burt Cold stepping in, I mean, this already super messy situation could get downright ugly. So, I mean, I never can put it past the Blazers to mess this up and do something out of spite or do something at the last minute.
And if it goes from people expecting Dame to Miami, like, I think that's just based on Dame's Twitter stuff. Like, I think Dame is expecting Miami like he thinks it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
If it's somewhere like he thinks is going to happen, and then all of a sudden the rug gets pulled out from underneath him, because, you know, as you've said, you've been told that Miami is happening for Dame. If it's something where Burt Cold steps in at the last second and nixes it, or that's the problem, is like, can't guarantee anything with this because who knows how much messier it can get. It's already gotten super messy in the first place. Like, that's the problem. With spite and with emotions and with multiple voices in the Blazers organization that, you know, maybe a little bit different outcomes from the scenario, you never know. Like, I still 1,000% expect Miami, especially considering what we've heard today. But I could see just one last little rug pull, you know? I don't know.
Dro says, what's the Nets package for Dame, hypothetically? They have no package for Dame. They've never seriously discussed a trade with the Nets.
Like, let me just say this. Heat fans should not celebrate until Woj or Shams is breaking the trade. Okay? You guys should feel good. You guys should feel good right now, but you shouldn't celebrate yet. So.
They should celebrate.
They should celebrate?
Nah.
Do you want to say that, given...
I mean, at this point, I'm already in it. I'm already locked in, right? Yeah, start celebrating. No, but yeah, now they're not going to trade him to Miami just to make me look stupid.
Yeah, just to spite you. Like, oh god, we're joking
like
regarding that, but dude. I mean, I don't know. I just, given what has played out in the past like 4 to 5 months, I don't know, man. I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
Who knows? Go ahead.
What I heard today, I don't hear that level of excitement and that that particular wording of how it was expressed to me without them being very certain that it was going to be the destination.
Yeah. Well, if it's not, that's why you should expect an absolute firestorm. It'll be good. I mean, there will be stuff to talk about. Like, I know how it's like, oh, we can finally move on once this thing is done. There will be stuff to talk about. Maybe a little bit more public info after the situation is done. We'll see. Some more of the truth beyond regarding what went on behind the scenes leading up to this could come out after this trade. And obviously we're going to talk about that. But, once the trade happens, obviously we have assets to talk about and players to talk about. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave a like on the stream. Let's get to 200 likes. Shout out to Kyle Wilson, $5 donation, says, I think the one excuse Cronin has is that it's hard to pick a direction with an owner who only cares about making money prior to a mandated sale. The ownership situation is definitely not easy on anyone whatsoever. But I just don't buy that as an excuse. Thank you, Kyle Wilson, for the $5 donation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, there's so many things that Joe can control, and he hasn't been able to control them, like filling out your bench or who you signed to minimum contracts. Like, the ownerships don't meddle that much in this situation. Even if you want to excuse the entire 2021 trade deadline as them, or the 2022 trade deadline as them meddling, then what's his excuse for not signing more vets in free agency last year, or not having, capable backup center, or not, or signing Gary Payton, when he's injured and needs core surgery and stuff? Like, how is he going to blame that on ownership being cheap?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. You can't. We'll take questions in chat. And we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. Do you think Dame will ever tell his side of all of this? I'm not sure that Dame will, but maybe other people will that are trustworthy. And then we'll talk about it if that happens. Do y'all think this gets done in the next 48 hours? I would guess yes, but it might be Monday because it is the weekend. Who knows? The weekend and the off season, stuff can obviously happen on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, I think it could bleed into next week, so I'm not sure. Yeah,
I think it will for sure happen before training camp, though.
Yeah.
I never once thought that Dame was going to be in training camp. We even did a chat poll like a week ago. I asked my chat if they thought Dame was still going to be in Portland when training camp got here, and 70% of them thought he was. Stephen Vaughn thought he'd be here until the trade deadline, Like, there's a lot of people that truly did think that Dame was going to be here in training camp. I never once bought it because I never thought that this front office wanted to go into training camp with the question mark surrounding Dame and that put possible drama. Man Mobile says we should get Steven's opinion. We will record something in the days after the trade. Maybe the night that the trade happens, and then have something out the next day. We will definitely have something for you guys. But Steven will probably just be like, oh, thank God it's done. We can finally stop talking about it. It's like, no, the people want you to talk about it, Steven. So we'll see.
And right after our show on Monday, clips from a podcast he did started to surface, from which Dame did kind of start to crack a little bit on why he changed up. Yeah, he didn't say specifics though.
And he's not going to say specifics until it's done. He's not going to jeopardize what he wants in this situation. So,
yeah,
and he's also not going to throw Scoot Henderson under the bus either.
Right.
Like he's not going to say, "Yeah, I was mad that they drafted Scoot." That's
Yeah.
He's basically dissing Scoot Henderson, and I do honestly think he likes Scoot Henderson's game, and he likes Scoot Henderson like as a dude. Like, I don't think he has any problem with Scoot Henderson, which is what he said. It's just he wanted to win, and they told him that they were going to be aggressive in terms of pursuing that direction, and then they weren't. From all accounts, they weren't. Everything that we've heard, I know there's all the rumors about them going after this trade and that trade and whatnot, but Dame, one of the specific things he said was, we no longer wanted the same thing. He wanted to be in Portland, but their wants were no longer aligned. And that's what I think we all want to hear him elaborate on. Because I think that would tell us a lot. But yeah, like, dudes aren't going to throw other dudes under the bus. Like, I know Chauncey had a statement in an interview where he said, like, God, I didn't hear it. It was told to me, so I'm roughly paraphrasing, but basically like, oh yeah, everything between Dame and the Blazers is fine. Chauncey's stuck in the middle. He's not going to throw either party under the bus or say, yeah, they hate each other. Like, he's not going to cause any drama. Of course he's going to say, yeah, things are fine. Dame just wants something else. Like, guys in this situation, guys in this sport, when they're put into tough spots, they're not going to throw their employer under the bus. They're not going to throw another player under the bus. They're just not. We can't read too much into politically correct answers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, so Aeromancer posted the quote, thank you. So Dame says, me and you saying no matter what, we ain't telling on each other, and then the day comes where I'm still playing by those same rules, but that ain't the code you want to live by no more. So when that happens, me and you can't be how we was. Well, that day has come. Like, that's much deeper than just Joe wanted to rebuild. I really do hope he expands on that. Yeah, and he's honest, but here's the thing about Dame. Like, he also, like, ultimately, he's going to thank Portland for getting him to Miami, even though it took longer than he wanted it to be. He is going to do that. So maybe he's just so happy they actually got him where he wanted.
Don't let him off the hook, Dame, please.
But like you said, there's going to be other people that speak for him.
Yeah. I mean, I would love nothing more that if we're right, I would love nothing more than Dame to say, you know what, I'm not going to speak on this, but the Blazers Uprise guys were right. If we're right. I honestly, like, I want him to speak on it for my own selfish reasons. Because it's just like we've been fighting for our own credibility with people that are hell-bent upon discrediting us and acting like they know everyone you do and don't talk to, Eric. Like, just being able to get that little bit of credibility would be nice. So it's not even, it's just for my own reasons.
See, it doesn't matter because, I mean, most people who don't want to, like, hate us can logically see that Dame didn't just switch up overnight, and like he wouldn't just be one of those guys that started telling on someone like his analogy. So, yeah, like obviously it's much deeper than, oh, they couldn't find a good deal for a third pick, so they had to take Scoot. Like it's not just that simple. Yeah. But I think a lot of people don't want to believe that Cronin would purposely do anything to Dame, so I get it. Like you want to think it's the best in every situation or whatever. That's nothing wrong with that, having that mindset. But I mean, like I just think it's pretty clear that, at least from Dame's point of view, he feels like the organization did him wrong.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm moving on after the trade happens, but if there's anything regarding on what happened before, we will talk about it. We will talk about statements, as long as they're legitimate. I'm not going to sit here and continue to speculate, and if we, it's not like we're going to hear new details, because we've heard a ton. Yeah. That's basically where it's at right now. We'll continue to take questions, and before we wrap up this stream, we'll be live again next Monday if a Dame trade doesn't happen before then. If a Dame trade happens, we'll be live as soon as possible.
Someone did ask earlier if you think Dame would win a ring in Miami. I believe they could. I think Bam, Jimmy, and Dame are... I think they're going to mesh really well together, and I think each one of them has a specific set of skills that can make up for the other two's weaknesses. And I just think that would be a really interesting dynamic. So, with Miami, you don't really worry about them putting role players around those three guys either. So I think as long as they're healthy, I think they might win a ring, yeah.
I think they do. I'll say they do. I'll just say it, okay? They'll win a ring if Dame gets traded there.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that's not the closest thing I get to one of my teams winning a championship. It's like, well, at least Dame did, Oh, man. Our Niners look good this year, Eric. Our Niners look good. We're 3-0 right now, so that's pretty nice. Anyway.
Freaking Borna.
Borna, stop, bro. I'm glad you like the overlay, but we are not to be toiled with right now. Can we ban Hogwatch? Unfortunately not, because that's my guy. So, yeah. He's let me just say he's doing a lot for the channel. All right? I can't even, I don't know how much I'm supposed to elaborate, but he's been very helpful for the channel, okay? Behind the scenes. Anyway, shout out to Truly Spencer PDX, $2 donation, says, we won't stop till we get number 1. Here's the Tankathon fee. Okay, he wants the Tankathon sim fired up. And we're going to run this thing. And we're going to see. We're going to see what pick we get. This is an unofficial Tankathon sim because it's not the regular season yet. The first loss of the regular season will be our first official Tankathon sim. Of course, the first official Tankathon sim last year, we had like a 2% chance at number 1, and we got it. So, I want to see if we can do it 2 years in a row. Where is the Tankathon sim?
You should do the mock draft page when you do.
The mock draft page?
Do they have it yet?
Yeah. You want to do the mock draft page? All right. Let's do it. Simulate lottery. I'm not even going to read off the teams because just a random order. Oh, my goodness. See, it like skips to the bottom. So we got whoever's 12th, or no, whoever's 11th moving up. Alexander Sarr is ranked way too low. I think he will be a top 5 pick. I think he has a chance to go number 1. Like, the top of this draft is not super strong. And there's a number of different guys who could go number 1. Let's see if we move down 3 spots again. Oh, no, we're top 4. Your Portland Trailblazers are top 4 with OKC. Wait, the Rock. Didn't OKC have a pick from someone?
If it's not in the top 4. So
Yeah.
the Rockets being the top 4, they keep it.
The Rockets are 11.
That's their pick
That's
from Brooklyn.
From Brooklyn. Okay, Rockets are top 4. I don't know who else is top 4. I'm not gonna guess. At 4, we got the Hornets. At 3, we got the Pacers. At 2, your Portland Trailblazers. And at 1, the Houston Rockets. Honestly, if we ended up with 2 instead of 1, just with the draft the way it looks right now, I would have no qualms about it whatsoever. Because, like, I don't think there's a clear-cut number 1 prospect. And if we ended up with the number 1 pick, I'd be worried that we would screw it up. Whereas if we end up with the number 2 pick, maybe it goes a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe there's a prospect that separates themselves where it's like, you gotta get this dude, he's gonna be the number 1 pick, but Borna. See, even complimenting Borna won't get him to stop, man. I shouldn't have even complimented him. He did drop a donation, though, so I'll take it in monetary form. $2 donation from Hogwatch. Says, Dame to Miami Shams just tweeted, wow, no Hawkes. Thank you, Hogwatch, for the $2 donation. If we, like, got a package that you were okay with, but, like, Hawkes wasn't included in it, how would you feel about that? Like, if they just randomly keep Hawkes.
I'm actually fine with it.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to get as many assets as possible, but I don't know where Hawkins is going to get a ton of minutes, and if he is, I don't know what that says about some of our other players. Like, I'd want him to play over Thibault or whatever, but I know Thibault's going to be playing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd almost rather get picks for him or a pick for him instead of actually getting him, or if like Phoenix wanted him as instead of anyone else in that trade, I'd be probably fine with that as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so weird because no other team than Miami is picking him 18th. Yeah. He was like a late first, early second round guy on pretty much everything leading up to the draft. Yeah. And then Miami just, like, that was considered a reach at 18. But, like, everyone thought of him as, like, a Miami guy. Like, I think his value is to Miami. I don't know if he necessarily has a ton of value. Certainly not the 18th pick value to other teams, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, would have loved to have made this deal before the draft and taken Cam Whitmore at 18. Can you imagine? Like, now, of course, getting back Ayton, Cam Whitmore, Jovic in, like, 3 future firsts.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, that sounds pretty dang nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, not through. I would rather have Jovic than Hawkes if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
Jovic just makes a little bit more positional sense, and I think he has a little bit more upside.
Yeah.
I think Hawkes has a higher floor.
I'd rather have their 2024 first, like, somehow get that protections changed on the OKC pick so they can include the 2024 first as a third first than Hawkes, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it came down to that, I'm cool with that too. Mm-hmm. Shout out to MGJJ123 with the $5 donation. Says, after all this, it better be Miami. Yeah, so I had a tweet earlier today. Thank you for the donation, by the way. I had a tweet earlier today, like, basically about... Here, let me read it off. Let me find it. I've tweeted a bunch today. If you don't follow me, go follow me. If you think I'm tweeting too much and filling up your timeline too much and you have a problem with it, I apologize because I have been on one. I dropped a Jusuf Nurkic meme today. I dropped my rotation with Ayton. Like, I tweet. I tweet quite a bit. I'm on Twitter a little bit too much. And yes, I will still call it Twitter. But I had a tweet today. I asked, does Portland owe it to Dame to trade him to Miami? And then I added, there is no right or wrong answer to this question because someone's answer is going to be based on their own interpretations of a messy situation and whether or not goodwill should exist in sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't think Portland owes it to him, whatever. I think Portland owes it to him. But I also think goodwill should exist in sports, and I think Portland did him wrong. If you don't think Portland did him wrong, and you think Dame did Portland wrong, then obviously you're not going to think Portland owes him anything.
He's a liar.
You know? Yeah. So that's the thing, is there's no right or wrong answer to that, because I see people vehemently debating whether or not they owe it to him, and I can't remember if I did that, like, right when he demanded his trade, but just looking back, it's just one of those things, like, it's like the GOAT debate for me, right? People love to debate the GOAT between Jordan and LeBron, and I don't even like having that debate because that debate is dependent upon what you value the most, like accolades or longevity or, you know, like passing. I think LeBron was a better passer. Like, there's different things that they did better than each other. So it's like, which one do you...
Eye test.
How old you are. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just, if you value one thing more than another, that's going to change who you have. And who's to say, like, one set way is the right way to value things? Like, it's so arbitrary, right? So in terms of, like, does Portland owe it to Dame or not? Like, that's not something to even really argue about, in my opinion, because I understand why somebody wouldn't think that. I understand why somebody would think that, because I do think that. But, I mean, it's just dependent upon if you think teams should ever owe anything to an athlete, and if an athlete should ever owe anything to a team. Like, should there be goodwill? If not, I get it. It's a business, right? As Steven always says. And then also it depends on how you interpret the way this entire thing went down, and with how messy it is, that's just going to be all over the place. So no point to even argue that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I think they kind of owe it to him, they still need to get back a justified package from Miami. That doesn't mean they just give him for whatever up to Miami. They can owe it to him to try and do right by him, but also they need to get back a good package from Miami. If they have equal packages between Miami and another team, and they don't trade him to Miami, then I have a problem with that. It's kind of where I stand.
Yeah. I know people disagree, but I still feel like Scoot is the most important part moving forward, so you already have him on your team. It's not like the process where you have to get a number one pick or whatever to get those pieces. I really think that the Blazers are already setting themselves up for a good rebuild, and so yeah, I don't think it's like crucial they get a 5th first round pick instead of 4 or whatever. And I've explained this many times, but I don't necessarily think future picks are bad, and I don't feel like Miami's picks are guaranteed to be good or not good.
There's a question, will all the shows going forward be the main channel? No, it's just tonight, because I mean, I gotta get this channel back in the algorithm's good graces because I just haven't done anything on it in a while, and because it's very monumental. So maybe the next stream too, just until maybe until October. But October, we're rebranding the second channel, and there's going to be more content on the second channel that I'm really excited for, that I'll tell you guys about on October 1st. Because that October 1st is a Sunday, and then that'll be like channel content because it's the first day of the month. I'll tell you guys what we're doing for next season. And then that Monday is media day, and on the second channel we'll have something. The plan is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Blazers Uprise Live will still be on Mondays and Thursdays. The rest of it, you'll find out. So, I'm excited. I'm excited for next year. We're doing more with game days. We're doing more with the second channel. This is not the second channel, Eric Olson. This is Blazers Uprise without the live. We went live on the main channel today. Our second channel, link in the description box below. Make sure you go subscribe if you haven't already. As far as... So we never got to this. Phoenix... the reason why they might be interested in trading Ayton to Portland is because they might be trying to duck the second tax apron, which is the super tax. It's commonly known as the super tax, and it's something that was instituted with the new NBA collective bargaining agreement, aka the CBA, and it imposes very harsh penalties for teams that are over the second tax apron. Phoenix is past that. Do you know the exact number that they are past it, Eric?
No, but I could probably find.
I think it's under $10 million because I've seen a lot of people say, like, yeah, they're trying to get under the second tax apron with this trade because Ayton makes, $33 million. Nurkic makes 16. If they take back Caleb Martin too, that's only $22 million that they're taking back. So they're saving $11 million. That probably is a motivation in this trade. Now, I know Matt Ishbia is super rich and doesn't care, just wants a winner. So that's why I wasn't really buying this at first, but it does make it harder to, do certain things, roster maneuvers as well.
I think it's more because they had to sign a ton of minimum contract players this summer. And Ayton contract provides them an opportunity to get several pieces for him. So that's why it's important that they get a wing back along with Nurkic, because you're not necessarily trading Ayton for Nurkic, but if you can upgrade your wing rotation and not have a huge drop off at center and have a couple players on a much more reasonable salary. But at the same time, Caleb Martin, I think, is a free agent after this year, so it's possible they don't want to pay him or whatever, but Matt Ishbia might not care about the second tax at all. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Dorian Finney-Smith would make some sense, too, if, Hero got traded to Brooklyn, and then Finney-Smith and Nurkic to Phoenix, Ayton to Portland, Dame to Miami, of course. Some sort of package like that. I think Finney-Smith would make a lot of sense for them from a skill set standpoint, fit standpoint. That's the other reason. I don't think it's only financially motivated. But they did a good job filling out their bench with minimum contracts. They did a better job than I thought they could possibly do in terms of filling out their roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
Eric Gordon, Bull, Keita Bates-Diop was a really underrated signing. Yuta Watanabe was a really underrated signing. Jordan Goodwin, I think, was an underrated pickup in the Bradley Beal trade. I think he'll play some minutes as just a defensive guard, which they kind of need. Damian Lee got brought back. Okogie got brought back. So
Toumani Camara in the draft.
Yeah, and I think he could end up being a steal. So they did a really good job rounding out their bench. That's kind of where, sure, Caleb Martin is better than all those guys, but is he better enough to justify it just from, a personnel standpoint? That's where I think, that extra motivation could be just getting under the super tax. And maybe the thing is, if it is Caleb Martin and Jusuf Nurkic, they get... Right now, Fanspo, I know Fanspo isn't perfectly reliable, but it says they're $22 million over the tax. The super tax starts at $17 million over the tax, so that would give them some breathing room, $5 million below the super tax, so that they could, maybe eat some of that up with certain roster moves and have more flexibility during the season.
Yeah, they're, according to Sport Track, they're 4.34, basically 4.341 million over the super tax right now.
3.41 million, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would have room to work with. If they get Finney-Smith back with Nurkic, they're right against... They should save around $3 million because Ayton's making 32.4. Finney Smith's like 13.4. Nurkic is 16.8. So that's what? 30.2 coming in. So they're saving 2.2 million. So actually they don't get below the super tax. They're still $1.2 million over. And it's not... I guess they could trade out Ish Wainwright in that deal and get under the super tax. That's like the one minimum contract they can trade out. Maybe Jordan Goodwin too, because it's been so long since they traded for him. Well, actually, they wouldn't need it to aggregate. So, like, they could attach a Wainwright or a Goodwin along with Ayton to get back Finney Smith and Nurkic and be approximately $500,000 below the super tax. And if you're a Heat fan that have only watched us since the Dame saga goes, me and Eric are CBA nerds. This is how we talk a lot of times. So I don't want to admit how many players' salaries I know the ballpark of off the top of my head.
But I already had that stream.
Yeah, I'm down to do more of those. Chat. Somebody in chat can just feed us a random players and see how close we are. That'd be a fun little segment to do occasionally.
Rowan asks, hypothetically, Eric, would you rather have Bam or Jovic, Jaquez 3 firsts and 2 swaps? I mean, I'd rather have Bam because you can probably get more than that for Bam.
Yeah.
If you decide to trade him, but Bam has never been on the table and is never going to be on the table.
I'm writing that segment idea down. How much he make, though, is the name of it. It's a play off who he play for, but that's a little too easy for us. How much he make, though?
Ah, great.
What?
We got Ed back because we're on a different channel.
Oh, God, why? What's his... I don't even want to know. Don't say it out loud. I'll read it later. Read somebody else's comments.
No, I want to read it because it makes no sense.
Okay, you have my blessing.
As part of the deal, Miami wants a statue of Eric outside the arena. Like, I have something to do with this. Like, dude, makes sense, my guy. Like...
Okay, that's actually kind of funny.
I have nothing to do with Dame going to Miami. I'm just saying what I've heard. Like, yeah.
I kind of want to see a statue of you. Like, what would be the pose if you had a statue, Eric?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. It's nice that so many people want to send you on vacation, though, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Miami's a pretty nice place to take a vacation.
Like what do people think I do that I would... It's not... Like, I think it's stupid, but I kind of get that Aaron Fentress should go report for Miami because that's all he talks about. But, like, I'm not a reporter, and it's not my job, so... Like...
They think you should be a reporter, is what it is, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It's like a sign of respect. Anyway, that's funny. Truly Spencer PDX, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say I haven't had that many bad experiences with Heat fans, so... Yeah.
This Dame saga, I've had more bad experiences with Blazer fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So... But also, let's not put whole groups of people in a box, because there's a bunch of awesome Blazer fans, and they're the people that are usually in our chat or watching our stuff. I love our community. When I talk about Blazer fans that are frustrating, they're not members of this community. So, you know, nobody think it's at you if you're watching us. Like, there's just a collective group that freaking hates us, unfortunately. So, shout to Dro, and then I'll read Spencer's message. Shout out to Dro with the $2 donut. Says, Dame and Eric Brandt were spotted in South Beach.
I wish I was hanging out with Dame in South Beach. That'd be cool.
That'd be amazing. I'm sure we get a lot of great insight. Just as long as you interview him and have him tell the truth, we're good.
Yeah.
You can do it on the beach. Or actually, don't let him go to the beach unless he tells the truth. So that we'll get him to speak out against this freaking organization. And then you guys can go to the beach and sip your drink drink of choice, whatever that may be. Shout out to Dro for the Drono. Shout out to Truly Spencer PDX member for 10 months. Says, wish Dame got the proper send-off at Moda. I agree. His final game in a Blazer uniform is going to be a win on the road in Utah. Do you guys remember that game at all? Because I don't. And that's kind of sad. That part kind of gets to me a little bit.
We won.
Yeah. We weren't happy about it.
It was so weird that they won and then they sent him out. Yeah.
They knew what was about to happen this offseason, so they wanted to get him one final win. Good on them. Good on them.
Oh, thank you so much, Brandon. Says, as a Heat fan, I actually like this show the best and will keep my eye on the rebuild so I can keep up with the show. Those are the coolest comments to me.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Like, being able to keep other fans around is really cool to be able to do.
Well, I mean, like, I could care less about the Phoenix Suns, but, like, Gabe's funny to listen to, or interesting to listen to. So, like, that's... Yeah.
Yeah, Suns Valley podcast, in case you weren't familiar. Very entertaining watch parties. We'll be on with them this season.
We may be on with them talking about DeAndre Ayton and Nurkic.
Yeah, we'll definitely do some collab thing if this trade goes down the way it does. I'll ask him some questions about Ayton. And yeah, there's so much cool stuff coming next year too that I'm super excited for, man. I'm super excited for. So, like, part of the frustration of going the rebuild route was like, I want people to be excited for all the stuff we're going to do this year. And I want them to have a good team with it. But, we're embracing the rebuild, and I'm going to try my best to entertain you guys. Like, I take it seriously, I do try my best, and I'm legitimately, like, sitting here trying to learn how to edit videos better, do edits that I don't know how to do. Like, I'm trying to prep myself to be able to make better content. I'm in training mode right now. I'm in my training camp right now. So, Avery, don't speak about whole groups of people as if they're one person. All right? Some of them are. Some Blazer fans are. Some of every fan base has very arrogant fans, yes. And some of them are really, really cool. So shout out to the cool ones, man. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to chat because they voted in the chat poll, Eric, 270 votes. 85% of people said they will cheer in Dame's return, which I was kind of curious about because I have seen people on the internet, which, as I said, the internet can be pretty vicious. I have seen people saying that they can't wait to boo him when he comes back to Portland. It's cool to see that 85% of people said they'd cheer for him, 6% will boo, 9% utter silence. So, I'm hoping that it's all cheers. That might be the one game I go to. Like, it'll be hard for me to not go to that game, but also I assume ticket prices are going to be insane.
Luckily, I know someone with season tickets.
Still?
Well, she tried to get out of them, but they wouldn't let her, so...
They still won't let people out of their season tickets, huh?
Yeah. Well, Dame's still on the team, technically. And just wait to see what Joe does. That's what next time someone calls about their tickets, they're going to be like, but we got DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, God. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton will make you forget about Dame.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's going to be a cool game. Hopefully my mom doesn't invite someone else to that one.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
That might be the only game I go to this year.
Yeah, like I'm going to try and go to that game. And then I'm going to try not to cry. Alright? Because that's not allowed or something. At least on the internet. Shout to Alex Wolf, $2 dono, says, could Portland flip Kyle Lowry at the deadline, in your opinion? I mean, maybe for a bad contract. Like, he would only have value in that he's an expiring. I don't see a team valuing him as a player and being willing to give up the $25 million it'd take to match his salary. Unless that $25 million was like a bad contract that they just wanted to get rid of for an expiring. And then shout out to Daniel Christurian with the, sorry if I messed up your last name, $5 donation. Says, hey Eric, enjoy a mojito on Miami Beach on me. Well, at least you got people buying you drinks for Miami, so that's, you know.
Nice.
It's better than nothing.
Hey man, you can do a lot worse than sitting on Miami Beach drinking a mojito.
Dude, I need a beach. Oh, I need a beach. I need a freaking beach. I need a drink.
I just got my beach fixing.
I need to touch sand. And I need to smell the ocean. Shout out to Rohan, because I just appreciate this comment. He says, I just peeped 9.12 thousand followers. Almost at 10,000. Congrats, y'all. Yeah, we're on the road to 10,000 subs. If you're not yet subscribed, that would be greatly appreciated if you felt like subscribing. Because, yeah, reaching 10K will be cool. Hopefully, my goal is just by the end of the year, by the new year, reach 10K. That'd be a cool number to hit for sure. A lot of work put into trying to get there, so. Was that a $38 donation for that Miami Beach mojito? Yeah. You got $33 left to donate, Daniel, because I'm talking about Miami.
Get 1/18 of a mojito.
Yeah, you get one sip out of Dame's mojito. He has never been to the Oregon coast, LOL. Yeah, Dame's never been to the Oregon coast, and I mean, I assume he didn't go this summer, so. He's no Myers Leonard. Myers Leonard toured the whole Northwest. Loved the Northwest. But then we traded him to Miami when he didn't want to go there, so.
Rahi asks if we think anyone else from our team gets sent out other than Dame and Nurk. I think it solely depends on the contract situation. So if they have to send out another contract like Keon or something to stay under the tax, I think they will do that. If not, I think it'll probably just be Dame and Nurk then. But they will be starting to get up there roster-wise, so maybe they just make Miami take Keon or something, just clear up some roster spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they don't have to make a decision about his team option.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something to look forward to seeing what they do with that if he doesn't get traded. Andy Marchant, how's your ankle looking, Tori? Yeah, so in case you guys don't know, I sprained my ankle so bad a week and a half ago. Luckily, I'm out of the walking boot. Dude, like, I thought I might have broken my ankle. It was brutal. So, like, right now, I can walk with, like, a very minor limp. It feels slightly sore, but, dude, like, it's just so weak, man. I've never had an ankle sprain this bad. So, like, I tried to slightly jog the other day, and I just almost, like, collapsed because my ankle was so weak. It's such a weird feeling. And it's like, I just want to play basketball. That's how I get my escape from everything. Like, especially with just the chaos surrounding this situation, what would always allow me to reset would just be going and playing basketball for 3 hours and just, like, not looking at a screen for 3 hours and just removing myself from the internet space. Because I do, like, work outside of my own channel. I do it on the computer. Obviously, with streaming in my own channel, I do it on the computer. Obviously, I spend too much time on Twitter. So I just want to hoop, man. I just want to hoop. So I'm like trying to be patient though and make sure I don't screw myself up worse or screw myself up again. It's really, really tough.
Couchlock says, I don't understand why the Blazers have to give up so much to facilitate a trade with Miami. Shouldn't the Heat be doing that? I don't understand what that means.
Well, hold on. I tried. Go ahead.
Are they
Yours is more important.
are they saying Nurkic is too much to give up? I don't know.
I've started doing a little bit of that, Alex. Definitely improved the stiffness, but yeah, now's the time for Steven to get his rematch. Anyway,
beat you when you're injured.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, this has been a fun stream. It's good to just get this off our chest. We'll see when this happens. I fully expect it to happen soon. Who knows when that is? When it happens, we'll go live as soon as possible. Just, my preference would be like between 12 and 6 p.m. tomorrow. Like, I have dinner plans, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to have to give you the thumbnail so that you can go live, and then, like, I can call in on my phone or something in case I'm not home. We'll have to figure it out. Like, we got to be ready. I'll have my ringtone on because it could be any hour. I mean, it's not going to happen at 2 a.m., but wouldn't that be funny? 2 a.m.
If 2 hours from now we have to come back on. Man. I'm just hoping that in my second week on the job, I don't have to ask to leave early.
Yeah. Would you get in trouble? Yeah, I mean, would you be, because you drive around, right? Would you be able to call in for little bits and pieces?
Well, driving's only a small part of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I could probably, yeah. Yeah, I could probably do something. But, yeah, let's just hope it happens more in the afternoon. So,
yeah.
Don't have to worry about it. Because once I'm off of work, I don't have anything till Monday morning. So, got the whole weekend free outside of kids soccer on Saturday morning.
Yep. Mad Mobile, yeah. Makes things a little bit more complicated. Should be good for everything else, but with the randomness of a trade, who knows? Anyway, chat, final questions. We're going to sign off here. If there are any other really good questions, I'll answer them. But if not, there's a mailbag prompt on the community tab. Wait, tonight was Thursday, so tomorrow's not a... I keep thinking tomorrow's a Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah,
oh, it's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow's a Friday. We always do things on Fridays. I can't even get my days straight. That's how exhausting.
The old regime.
True. So, we'll see. Yeah. We'll be live if we need to be. There's a community prompt right here on the main channel. If you go to this main channel page and click community, there is a mailbag question prompt that you can drop your questions under. I need a few more so I can drop that video. So definitely go ask those. If a trade happens before I drop it, then all those questions will be moot. So then I'll just need to drop a new prompt. So apologies for that, but yeah, I definitely want to drop a mailbag soon. We need to make that happen. Anyway, thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to everybody who hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, hit it on the way out. We'd appreciate it.
I have to say this. Sorry to cut you off, but Jordan is saying, Tori, has anyone ever told you that you look like the big dumper?
I mean, I'll take it. Cal Raleigh. I don't look like Cal Raleigh at all. What do you mean? There's other guys that people say I look like that I look a little bit more like than Cal Raleigh. But I will take the comparison. I don't think that's a bad guy to look like. So, yeah, dude, the Mariners, God, that division race is gonna be stressful. I'm stressed, Eric. I need to sleep, and then I need to wake up, meditate, Before we sign off of here, never mind. I want to go to bed. I'm not going to extend this outro any longer. Any final words, Eric?
You're not big dumper, you're little dumper.
Lil Dumper. That's my rap name, Lil Dumper.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate you all. Just now a matter of waiting to find out what all we get for Dame going to Miami. And should hope it happens sometime soon. I don't know if it's going to be this weekend or tomorrow or next week sometime, but definitely coming up soon.
Yep. Hit that like button, subscribe. Check out the second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Link in description box below. And with that being said, we are out of here. We'll catch you next time, whenever that is. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.